Are you thinking about moving to Oakland in 2025? Here are some top neighborhoods the blogs probably haven't mentioned. A few they have. Welcome back to Living in the Bay Area. If you want more videos like this, ones in which we talk about real estate, lifestyle, culture in the Bay Area, make sure you hit the subscribe button below. So what determines if a neighborhood in Oakland is a top neighborhood in 2025? The competitiveness of the neighborhood, the proximity to amenities and high walk score, the school zone, even though Oakland's a lottery system, the rankings of those schools within that neighborhood, the noise levels of that neighborhood. And we will, of course, talk about the median home prices in those neighborhoods and rental values. Neighborhood number one is the Piedmont Avenue neighborhood, which is outside of Piedmont. Piedmont is a separate city. A lot of folks moving from outside of California, they don't know this difference. Piedmont is its own city with its own school system, services, etc. The attraction of this area is got a high walk score to all the restaurants, bars, shops along Piedmont Avenue. You can walk to the Piedmont Cemetery, which has beautiful views. If you work for Kaiser, it's super convenient and getting to Kaiser Permanente. Morecambe Rose Garden is nearby, beautifully maintained by the city and volunteers. I talked about how these neighborhoods are very walkable, bikeable to Piedmont Avenue, but it's also close to Adams Point, Lakeshore, Grand, Lakeshore Avenues. I've mentioned the farmers market by the lake on Saturdays. You're not too far away from some of the other neighborhoods that we're going to describe in this video. When it comes to public transportation, MacArthur-BART station isn't too far away. There's a flat bike route to MacArthur-BART, plenty of Transbay bus lines. On that note, the lake is also within biking, walking, jogging distance, and some of those restaurants, amenities, fitness centers. There's also Flex Gym on Piedmont Avenue. And not to mention just the aesthetics of these neighborhoods. They tend to have more tree-lined streets and more greenery surrounding these homes and mid-century multifamily condos and apartment complexes. Now the elementary school, Piedmont Elementary, doesn't tend to be the thing that attracts people to this neighborhood. It's not as highly ranked as some of the other elementary schools we're going to talk about in this video for other neighborhoods. Some other favorites along Piedmont Avenue include the Piedmont Theater, which is the oldest operating theater in Oakland. Sometimes host filmmaker Q&As and art house film nights. There's Fenton's Creamery, which has been around for ages. There's always a line around the corner. There are a ton of thrift stores along Piedmont Avenue. And if they're not on Piedmont Avenue, in recent years, they've moved to College Avenue, not too far away in Rockridge. Another notable landmark store along Piedmont Avenue is Piedmont Grocery, which is a cooperative. When it comes to real estate in the Piedmont Avenue area, you would be likely to find a single family home that's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,100 square feet for under $1 million. Probably somewhere between $900,000 and 1.1, depending on the condition and some other factors like yard size, the internal size of the property, whether or not there's a garage that you can convert and some basement space. When it comes to bigger homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, probably going to pay anywhere between 1.2 and 1.5 million. I've seen some beautiful duplexes for sale that need some work that have sold for under $1 million. When it comes to condos, townhomes, totally depends on the building, the HOA, the condition of that building, the age of construction. The next neighborhood, or I should say set of neighborhoods, is Oakmore, Upper Diamond. One of the attractions of Oakmore, which I failed to mention this in the other video when thinking about neighborhoods for families with kids, is Lions Pool, which is a public swimming pool within Diamond Park. I see soccer practices, trails, people just playing, picnicking out in Diamond Park, so that's one of the attractions. Upper Diamond feels far enough from the freeway. You don't get, again, the same level of noise that you would get if you lived in Lower Diamond and closer to that I-580 freeway exit and entrance. In Upper Diamond, you're not too far away from Lower Diamond, MacArthur Boulevard, where you've got Farmer Joe's, you have some fabulous dim sum spots, Thai restaurants, there's Wawa Thai food, that's a good one. There's a southern cooking place, soul food place, that had great Sunday brunch. It's on MacArthur Boulevard. You've got a couple of dive bars, which are great spots to watch sports games. And on the Laurel Diamond border, you've got Grand Lake Kitchen. That's their newer location. It's more expansive than, or it feels more expansive than the one by the lake, and there's more outdoor seating over there. Some homes in this neighborhood sit on historic streetcar lines, and there are some preserved stone retaining walls that were built in the 1920s. So I would argue that Oakmore and Upper Diamond, Lincoln Highlands, I'll exclude Lincoln Highlands from this comment, but you can get panoramic views potentially the quiet, the secret staircases, trails that someone might look for in Montclair for a comparable price point, but with potentially lower fire insurance. So for cheaper, but that's not necessarily reflected in the median home value. Here are the stats for the homes that have sold in Oakmore in the last 6 months. For Upper Diamond, I've been surprised by some of the stats in the last 3 to 6 months where you can find a 2-bedroom, 1-bath with a bigger lot for under $1 million. Doesn't mean the property doesn't need work, but when it comes to larger homes, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you can still find a home for under 1.1 million. If you're in Oakmore, again, depends on the house, the season, I've noticed that there have been quite a few deals in the last 6 months where you can find a home in Upper Oakmore that's 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, over 1,600 square feet, or over 1,500 square feet for under 1.25 million. If you're in Upper Oakmore, Joaquin Miller might be your other elementary school that your child receives placement in. That's also scored 6 out of 10 on greatschools.org. The next neighborhood in our top neighborhoods list in 2025 is Chabot Park. Chabot Park is deeper east in the hills in Oakland. It borders San Leandro. Not many folks considering Oakland think about it at first, but it's super quaint. You can get much more square footage, bigger lots for a lower price point in this part of Oakland. And while you might have a high fire severity risk, you don't have the same risk with the fault zone and landslides or liquefaction factors, as I've covered in some other videos when it comes to natural hazards. I mean, there's natural wildlife up there. You're close to the zoo, of course, if you want to see other wildlife. As the name indicates, or would have indicated, you're close to Lake Chabot, which is partly in Oakland, San Leandro, and in Castro Valley. There's a ton of activities you can do at the lake. Technically, you're not supposed to swim. It's a man-made lake. There's fishing, boating, kayaking. There are trails surrounding the lakes, so hiking, picnicking are also options nearby. There's also Lake Chabot Country Club and golfing. When we talk about schools, this neighborhood isn't zoned for one of the more highly ranked elementary schools. Your option there is Grass Valley Elementary School, which is 5 out of 7 on greatschools.org. This neighborhood, yeah, it feels like an island because it's surrounded completely by green spaces, trails. Skyline Boulevard isn't too far away, or you can see horses. There are people who have horse stables up there and lots of land behind their homes. Another cool fact about this neighborhood is during the Great Depression, this was home to the Civilian Conservation Corps. Many stone walls and park structures in this area were built by hand in the 1930s. So when it comes to single-family homes in that area, you can find smaller fixers for under $800,000 to bigger, redone, huge lots, properties that back up to some of that open space that we were talking about for anywhere from, $750,000 to 1.6 million. Some of the homes up there have swimming pools. There's just a lot more, or mid-century to 1960s construction. Next up, let's go back west to Trestle Glen, which is not explicitly named, I think, in a lot of neighborhood lists. What I appreciate about it, it was the first neighborhood that I lived in when I moved to Oakland in 2010. And I shared a huge home on Trestle Glen with five other people. Beautiful 1920s home. There was space for us, but also really high utility bills. It had original single pane windows. Our poor neighbors had to deal with our bad taste in curtains and the things that we could afford as teachers. But what I loved about living there, we lived on the flatter side of Trestle Glen, is that we could walk to Lakeshore and Grand very easily, bike very easily to downtown. The lake, of course, is nearby. Back then, there weren't as many amenities on the east side of the lake, but those are also accessible to you from Trestle Glen. Just like Crocker Highlands, Trestle Glen is tree-lined. There are some beautiful street lamps in this part of Oakland. As you get further away from Lakeshore, the streets become a little bit more narrow, and the terrain is a little bit more hilly, like in Oakmore. I appreciate the architecture that's in Trestle Glen. Many of the homes are Spanish Revival and Art Deco. This neighborhood's name comes from the old streetcar trestle that used to run along Trestle Glen Road. Having these streetcars, which this line, according to locals, is hidden underneath Trestle Glen Road, the current paved Trestle Glen Road, instrumental in the development that happened in Oakland during that time period. When it comes to median home prices for single-family homes, the median price in the last 3 to 6 months would be around 1.5 to 1.6 million. And you do have generally larger homes in this area. I imagine, just like some of the surrounding neighborhoods by the lake where San Franciscans had their summer lake houses in Oakland, that these were constructed with that in mind as well. And the reason you see such a diversity in architectural style in this area is because there was a development company building along that tract of the lakeshore area, but a lot of real land purchasers at that time bought the lots and then developed their own homes. And some of the restrictions by that development company required that each house cost at least $3,000. And some owners developed their own home and spent a sum of $50,000, which at the time was extravagant. When it comes to elementary schools in this area, or what you would be zoned for if you lived in Trestle Glen, there's Crocker Highlands Elementary School, which has an 8 out of 10 score on gradeschools.org. And there's also Edna Brewer Middle School, which is more highly ranked compared to other Oakland middle schools. Now let's go to North Oakland, or the Oakland-Berkeley border. This is one neighborhood I've chosen to highlight in the past that I think is still has a lot of pros and is still pretty competitive, though I've seen some depreciation over the last couple of months. And that neighborhood is Bushrod. Fun fact, Bushrod was once home to jazz legends, the Pointer Sisters. What's so great about Bushrod? A lot of the amenities that I've highlighted in Berkeley and South Berkeley are within biking distance, walking distance from Bushrod. There's Bushrod Park, which is one of the better maintained parks in Oakland. You've got tennis courts, pickleball courts. People use the soccer field, I think it might be also a baseball field, as a place for their dogs to play. People picnic there, they have parties there, there's a recreation center, there are free Zumba classes and yoga classes. You're not too far away from the Telegraph Arts District and the restaurants there. I've talked about the line of Ethiopian restaurants, or the concentration of Ethiopian restaurants that are on Telegraph and on Shattuck. You've got Nick's Pizza, which I think now has been around for at least 10 years. Used to be a much smaller spot. They have outdoor space, etc. Little cafes, unique cafes along Shattuck Avenue, dispensaries further down. There's Ashby Bart and MacArthur Bart. For a long walk or bike, you can make it to Rockridge and some of the shops and restaurants that are in Rockridge across from the Rockridge Bart. You've got all the great grocery stores over there. Berkeley Bowl, again, is close to the Ashby Bart. And the South Berkeley's farmers markets on Tuesdays is also close to Bushrod. When it comes to the real estate market, I mentioned that I saw some depreciation since 2022. You can get a single family home fixer that's huge for probably under $1 million now. The after repair value, when these homes that are above 1,800 square feet go back on market, 3 to 4 bedrooms, 2 to 3 baths, you're probably going to pay anywhere from 1.3 to 1.7. Lately, the real estate market in Bushrod has picked up, so I might start to see a higher median price point, or one that matches what I was seeing in 2021, 2022. And I might want to mention that this is one of those North Oakland neighborhoods too, where I see a lot of co-buying. If you're thinking about co-living with your parents or a group of friends, finding those multi-unit properties on one lot is possible here, or multi-family property that's been renovated recently. You might pay more, anywhere between 1.7 to 2.3 million, but I don't see as many opportunities where there are redone homes with multiple buildings on the same lot as I do in Bushrod. When it comes to elementary schools in Bushrod, the neighborhood schools are Peralta Elementary and Sankofa Academy. And Sankofa isn't as highly ranked, and that's been the case for the past couple of years, as is Peralta Elementary. And Peralta Elementary was merged with another elementary school. While I'm on the subject of Bushrod, I also want to mention Eudora Park, which used to be an amusement park in the early 1900s. It was Oakland's largest amusement park. It was a trolley park before that, I believe, almost 17 acres. That's one reason the electrical is underground. You don't see above ground electrical in that area. You have a lot of beautiful storybook homes. A lot of them have been renovated. People like the architecture of this neighborhood. When it comes to real estate here, it depends on the size, of course, of the house, but if you find a renovated storybook home, the after repair value on that home could be between 1.2, 1.3 million if it's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, 1,300-ish square feet with a 5,000 square foot lot. There was a fixer that sold on Carberry Avenue for $695,000 in the fall, winter of 2024. When it comes to the neighborhood elementary school, technically this part of Southern Bushrod, Eudora Park, is part of the Peralta Elementary School Zone. Last top neighborhood in 2025 in Oakland You might have guessed it. It's mentioned in a lot of blogs and news articles. That's Rockridge, Upper Rockridge. I've talked in other videos about the benefits of being in Rockridge, the high walk score, proximity to Berkeley, easy freeway access, and I've already mentioned the Rockridge BART. The shops, restaurants, bars, and businesses that have been there along College Avenue, grocery stores, other amenities. Upper Rockridge has a lower walk score than Central Rockridge, but in many parts of Upper Rockridge, you've got panoramic views of the Bay Area, views above the Claremont Country Club. When it comes to the architecture in the neighborhood, you will find all styles, including luxury custom builds, some that were reconstructed and newly constructed after the 1991 firestorms in that area. The median prices for both of these parts of Rockridge in the past 6 months, 2025, were the following. Living in Central Rockridge and Upper Rockridge comes at a higher price point. This is one of the more expensive neighborhoods of the ones that I've listed so far. When it comes to the neighborhood elementary schools, you've got Hillcrest Elementary and Chabot Elementary, which are more highly ranked on greatschools.org. That's it for the top neighborhoods in Oakland in 2025. Just a reminder that Oakland is expansive geographically, and there's no way I could cover all the great neighborhoods that are a part of Oakland in this one video. Be sure to tune in, subscribe for more videos like this, neighborhood highlights, real estate market updates, and other explorations of the Bay Area. If you're making a move to the Bay Area and you need a guide, my contact information is below.